and I'm here today with artist Óscar Becerra Mora underneath the wings of Xólotl, Dios Perro, this fantastic piece, and we're so thrilled to have you all with us today. Big thank you to the Mexican Cultural Center of Denver, as well as Adams County Government, and our guest here today, Óscar, for being with us. Please, if you have questions, post them in the chat, and we'll be answering your questions live. And let's go ahead and get started. Óscar, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
So as we start here, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Bueno, mi nombre es Óscar Becerra Mora, vengo de la Ciudad de México y soy artesano de cartonería. Hago alebrijes y máscaras, juguetes, todo lo referente a la cartonería. Y bueno, estamos aquí gracias a la invitación de la Biblioteca Netín, al Centro Cultural Mexicano. Estamos con la instalación de la pieza Xólotl, de una alebrije monumental.
So my name is Óscar Becerra Mora. I am from Mexico City. I work the technique of the cartonería, which is a paper mache technique. I built this alebrije sculpture, among other things like toys and masks and things like that. And this is a project that we worked in collaboration with the Mexican Cultural Center, and I'm very excited to be here.
I should mention, team, for those who are tuning in, that the fabulous Erica Hernandez is here from the Mexican Cultural Center, and she will be translating for us today, too. So thank you so much, Erica. She's off camera just because we wanted to be safe and make sure we're keeping a safe distance. But thank you so much for the translations today.
Thank you, Stacey.
So can you tell us a little bit about your process, your artistic process?
¿El proceso?
The process.
Bueno, el proceso es, la técnica es cartonería.
The process is the technique that I mentioned, the cartonería.
El papel como elemento material
Paper,
principal.
it's the main component to make this type of sculptures, like this piece that's unfinished.
Aquí se ve la traje
We can
con
see
la finalidad
here
de que puedan ver
that I brought this piece over so you guys could see the process.
It's made with newspaper, cardboard, recycled papers. Para una pieza como Xólotl,
For a piece like the Xólotl,
bueno, la estructura es un poco diferente
structure is a little
porque en este caso
different
usa algo de madera,
because we had to
pero
use some
también ya
wood.
para piezas de este tamaño se
But
puede
for
utilizar
pieces this
también
big,
metal
we also use
para
metal
estructuras
for
grandes.
structures this big.
We had a lot of fun this week. Our Óscar has been here all week at Anything Right Farms doing some repairs, and our staff have had an opportunity to help with some of those repairs with the paper mache and the painting. How many hours did it take to create this piece?
Bueno, para esta pieza,
Well, for this piece,
el tiempo que tardamos
the
fue
time that I
un
took,
mes.
it was
La
about a month.
elaboramos entre, pues básicamente dos personas.
And we did it in like two people.
Y a veces ayuda de algunos amigos y todo, pero fue
And I
cerca
had some help from
de
friends.
un mes,
So
una
it's
semana más o menos.
about a month or 5
One
weeks
Yeah,
that it took for this to be finished.
fabulous. We're so thrilled to have it here and share it with our community. Can you tell us about the inspiration for this piece?
Bueno, la inspiración fue
Well, the inspiration was based
deidad prehispánica, que era el dios Xólotl,
on an
que era
ancient
el
god.
hermano gemelo de Quetzalcóatl. Y me
So
llamó
he
un poco
was
la
a
atención
twin
porque
brother of
esta
Quetzalcoatl, which
figura
is from
tenía
the
la
Aztec.
particularidad de tomar,
This
de cambiar de
god
forma, ¿no? Entonces,
has
un poco
the particularity
me hizo
of
pensar en
changing
los alebrijes,
shapes
ya
and could
que,
transform into different
pues, los
animals,
alebrijes son una
which I
combinación
just
o
kind of
una
related to the
mezcla, ¿no? de
alebrijes,
diferentes,
which is
pueden
a
ser
mix
animales reales o
of
puede ser
different
con
animals,
elementos de la
either
imaginación
real
del
animals or
artesano, ¿no? que
imaginative
va
animals,
añadiendo a cada pieza según
and you just kind of
pues,
go
lo que le va viniendo
with
a
your
la mente, ¿no?
imagination and just create a piece.
Fabulous. And when did you start doing this work? How old were you?
¿Cómo?
¿Cuántos años tenías cuando empezaste a trabajar este arte?
¿Cuánto tiempo tengo trabajando esto? No,
¿Cuántos años tenías cuando empezaste con el arte de la cartonería?
no te escucho.
¿Cuántos años tenías cuando empezaste con el arte de la cartonería?
¿Cuánto tiempo me tardo para hacer una alebrije?
¿Cuántos años ¿Tú cuántos años tenías cuando empezaste con el arte?
ok. Bueno, yo empecé a trabajar esto
Well, I started working
en
this
el 2003, ya de
around
una forma
2003
dedicarle todo el tiempo.
as a full-time job.
Aprendí como, pues como una especie de hobby.
It
Me
all
llamaba la
began
atención
as a
mucho
hobby.
las piezas y empecé a hacerlo como un pasatiempo.
So I just started
Y
doing it as
después,
a
pues, me fue
hobby, and
atrapando y
afterwards
empecé
I
a,
just
pues,
got
a
very
investigar
engaged
más,
into this and investigated more
a
about
tratar
the
de mejorar las
techniques
piezas y desde ese
and try
tiempo pues,
to
me he
improve
dedicado
the techniques.
a hacer este trabajo.
And since then, I started doing this as a full-time job.
What an incredible job. And so this is one of the questions that I had for you. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but as the piece evolves and you do repairs to it over time, how does it evolve for you? The patterns. Here, let me back up. Let me back up this question. How do you view the piece differently with its repairs over time? And do you have the same relationship with the piece as it changes? So you were painting new pieces on this week. What is that process like, that
Okay.
evolution like?
Bueno, a través del tiempo, desde que se instaló
Well, over
la pieza,
time, since this
pues,
piece
sí ha tenido,
got created,
pues más que los cambios en la pieza físicamente,
more than the
ha habido
changes
algunas
or the physical
reparaciones,
changes
algunas,
of the piece,
modificaciones,
they have been a
dependiendo
little
de los
or a
lugares
few
en los que se ha instalado.
modifications.
Pero más que los cambios
But more than those
de la pieza,
changes
pues ha sido
in the
como
piece,
las
it's
experiencias
more
que me ha,
of the
que ha brindado,
experiences
¿no? la
that
pieza,
this has brought to
porque
me, to
cada
my
vez
life,
que
as
trabajo
every
la
time
pieza, siempre aprende uno algo nuevo.
that it gets exhibited,
No solo de la pieza,
you always
sino,
learn something
pues,
new.
la relación con la gente,
You gain
es una
something
pieza que
new, like
ya
the
ha seguido,
relationship with new people,
brindando conocimiento
and it just
y
continues
experiencia,
to
¿no?
grow
Entonces,
upon the technique that I have.
Tiene 7 años que hice la pieza y 7 años que llegó aquí a Colorado.
It's been 7 years
pues
since I
siempre
made
es
the piece,
gratificante seguir viéndola,
7
¿no?
years
Que
it's
sigue-
been here,
que sigue
so
aquí y que sigue
it's
transmitiendo,
very
pues, esa
gratifying
esencia
to
que
continue to
en un
see
origen tenía,
this
¿no?
being
Entonces,
exhibit.
pues es una relación muy especial
So it's a very special
que tengo
relationship
con la
that I
pieza
have with this
y
piece,
con la ciudad de Denver y que,
with
pues, que ha
the city of
generado
Denver
también,
too,
apertura para más,
and
más
which has
extender
brought
más
a lot
este
of,
trabajo
and had
y la
expand
cultura
a lot of our
mexicana.
programming
Yeah.
and the knowledge of the Mexican culture.
And now we all have a special relationship with it too, which is so powerful. We have a question from the audience. Was this piece ever displayed at the Denver airport?
Bueno, la pieza
Well, this
se
piece
mostró en el
was
2014
exhibited
en el aeropuerto.
in the
Y
Denver
bueno, fue una
International
experiencia,
Airport in
pues,
2014,
particular porque la pieza,
and it was a very particular
quedó un poco
experience
dañada de la
because this
primera
piece was somewhat
exposición.
damaged from the
Entonces,
previous
en el aeropuerto fue
exhibition.
la segunda vez
So
y se instaló
the time
en el área
at the
donde
airport, it was the
llegaban
second time
los
that it got
viajeros.
displayed here in Denver.
Entonces, toda la
So,
gente que llegaba podía ver la pieza y pues un tiempo
as
dedicaba a la
people
pieza, un
came
tiempo a contestar
through the
preguntas.
airport,
Entonces, fue
I
interesante porque fue una
expanded some
interacción
time speaking
muy,
with them about the
como
piece,
muy
about the
fructífera
repairs, and the
entre
rest of
la
the
gente,
time
pues,
working
todo
and
el tiempo
restoring
mucha
the
gente la vio,
piece.
mucha gente la estuvo
So there
viendo.
was a lot of
Todavía
people, a lot
hay
of
gente
traffic, so many people
que me
did go through the
me
airport
tocó, por
and
ejemplo, en
were able
Arizona,
to see this
que la
piece.
vieron en el aeropuerto.
It
Y a raíz de eso
the
también
Alebrije
nos
was on display in
invitaron a
Arizona,
participar en un
and
proyecto el año pasado.
they
La
told me
directora
they saw
del
this
centro
piece back
de
in
Mesa
Denver at the
Center
airport,
vio
so
la
that was
pieza en
very
el aeropuerto,
gratifying.
entonces ya conoció el trabajo
So they
y
already knew my
no sé en
work.
qué momento la vería, pero pues ahí
I don't know what
tuvo
time they were able to see
un
it, but
impacto muy bueno
it had a
la
very
pieza
big
en el
impact
aeropuerto.
when it was displayed at the airport.
Incredible, yeah. So we had talked the other day about you feel like you have a special relationship with Denver. This was the first place that you displayed your pieces internationally, is that right?
Relationship with the city? Or,
Yeah.
bueno, sí, la relación que tengo aquí
Well, the relationship that I
con la pieza y
have
con-
here with the
con el
piece,
hecho
with the
de que
city,
fue mi primer proyecto
is that this was my very first
digamos, de
project
salir para mostrar
abroad
el trabajo
from Mexico that I was
en el
able to
extranjero.
show and showcase my
Digamos,
work.
siempre las piezas generalmente siempre se van.
Usually the
a otros
pieces,
lados, ¿no?
they
Y
go
en esta
somewhere
ocasión, pues,
else.
sí, es algo especial, que fue
And
la
this
primera
was
pieza
very
que
special because it was a very
pude,
first piece that I was able to
viajar con ella.
travel with.
Y bueno, pues el estar aquí en la ciudad
And being
y
able to
la
be here in
reacción
the
de la
city
gente, la aceptación que
and
tuvo,
feeling
las
the
atenciones que he
people's
tenido conmigo, bueno, pues,
acceptance
ha generado
and all the good positive feedback I've gotten from this
amistades, ¿no?
piece
Amistades
has
que
built
aún
upon
amigos
my
aquí
relationships.
en
I built
Colorado, que a veces van a
friendships
México,
and
y bueno, se ha
contacts,
mantenido,
and
es
I've been able to
una,
keep
ha sido muy significativo para mí
a stretch
esta
relationship with
ciudad
many
y
people here,
mostrar aquí la pieza y todo,
and
¿no? Es una relación muy especial
it's
para
a
mí.
very special relationship for me.
Well, Oscar already knows this. He's part of the Anythink family now, too. So we hope to be added to that list of friends here locally.
Thank you.
One fabulous question that we received from our friends online. What advice do you give to teens and kids that want to become an artist?
Ok. Bueno, pues
Well,
la cuestión de dedicarse al arte,
being able
a
to
veces,
dedicate
a veces
your
no
time
es,
to the
a veces ha
arts,
sido un poco menospreciado y no ha sido visto
it
como una
hasn't been
profesión, ¿no?
valued as it should
Yo lo que
be.
les
It's been
podría decir
undervalued,
a
and
los
I think
chicos,
it's not being
los
appreciated
niños
as
que
it
quieran
should
hacer,
be. What I
dedicarse
can
al
tell
arte es
teens and
que las bases están
teenagers that
amar
are
lo que hacen,
willing to go this
mucho amor
path
a lo que
is
hacen
that
y
you
mucho
just
trabajo.
must have a lot of love for what you do,
Digamos,
a
esto
lot of
no es
passion
como
for
una
this type of
inspiración
work,
mágica, ¿no? Es
and have
el
that
trabajo
inspiration,
y la dedicación que uno le da es lo que lo
inspiration
hace
and the dedication
desarrollar.
that
No va
you
a ser
put into
fácil
your
porque
work. It's
no es
what
fácil,
makes or leads the way.
pero
It's not
mientras
easy,
uno tenga esa
but as long as you
amor y
have
ese,
that love and
voluntad de hacerlo,
will to do
lo
this
pueden
type of work,
desarrollar, lo
you
van a
can do
desarrollar.
it and you will be successful.
Thank you so much for sharing that. The big part of what we do here at Anythink is inspire people of all ages to pursue their creativity and their art. So we appreciate you sharing with that. And I know you're inspiring a lot of folks out there right now. So another question that we received. In the United States, there's sometimes a differentiation between high art and folk art. Does that separation exist in Mexican art? Why do you think both are important?
Okay. Bueno, desde mi punto de vista,
Well,
pienso
from my
que
point of view,
la clasificación de lo
that
que es el folk
classification
art o
of
el
folk
arte
art or the art,
tiene más bien desde el punto de vista de quién dice
it
que
comes
es arte
from
y
the
quién
point
dice
of
que no es
view
arte, ¿no?
of who says
En
it's art or
realidad,
what's
son
not art.
clasificaciones que me parece que
In reality, I think this
que
type of
las piezas van más allá de
classifications,
esas clasificaciones. Yo lo veo
these
más
pieces of
como
art go
formas de
beyond
expresión de la
those
cultura,
classifications.
algo que
I just see it as a general type of way to promote the culture, and they don't necessarily have to align with one of those two types. Like, somebody can say this is art or this is not art, but it really has to deal a lot with the context of where it's being observed. In Mexico, there is a Bienal, some event that the Museum of Popular Art recreates, and there is a project where an artist and an artisan work together in collaboration to make a piece of art, and they do this to go beyond that border and build a stronger relationship between these two type of artists. And this helps people, this helps you show people, show what they can do together. And it just goes beyond that type of classification. It's more of a expression of the art in general, and it's a different term that could be used.
That's great. Thank you so much. How do you respond to people who say, I'm not creative, or I like art, but I just don't understand it?
¿Cómo?
¿Cómo le responderías a las personas que sienten que no tienen ese don artístico o que les gusta el arte pero no lo entienden?
Cuando que no se consideran creativos.
Ajá.
Bueno, yo pienso que todos
Well,
somos
I think
creativos.
we are
Todos
all
tenemos,
creative.
No hay nadie que no sea
There's
creativo.
not a person that is not
si mucha gente
creative.
se vincula
Many times it is linked to your imagination, or people tell you, oh, you have a lot of imagination. But I think we're all creative in a way. We're all making things differently every day. I remember a person that gave a workshop at the Museum of Popular Art in Mexico City, and they were doing a lot of different shapes with paper. And somebody asked him, how did he learn? And he answered, I learned since kindergarten, but I've been continuing to practice and evolve my technique. So it all has to do with the determination and continue to pay attention to that side or to that profession or to whatever you do. And you will always be creative, and you will continue to be creative and continue to create different things.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Bueno, mi inspiración.
Well, my
pues, va
inspiration
cambiando todo el
changes
tiempo. En el
every
caso de
time.
los alebrijes,
In this case, for the Alebrijes,
básicamente
basically,
la mitología,
it's the mythology behind
es la naturaleza,
the
¿no?
nature.
Hacer las piezas, o sea, todo lo que uno observa,
everything that you observe.
la inspiración.
That's my inspiration.
Pues, en la vida diaria,
In my
las
everyday
vivencias,
life,
todo lo
my
que uno
experiences,
observa, conoce,
everything you see
es la
or
inspiración
hear or learn,
que nos brinda
it's
la
the
pieza, ¿no?
experience
No hay
that
algo que
brings
sea
me to make
aislado
these type of
en
pieces.
uno mismo, sino es todo lo que recibimos,
It's
todo lo
everything
que
that we
percibimos,
receive, what we
quizás lo que
perceived,
transmitimos a través
and what we
de-
transmit
a través
over
de las piezas, ¿no? A
these
veces,
type of
en
pieces.
este caso, los alebrijes,
In this
pero
case,
a
Alebrijes,
veces creamos otro tipo de
but
piezas
sometimes we also
en
create
que expresamos
some other
cómo
types of
percibimos,
pieces or art,
el mundo, ¿no? Cómo percibimos,
how we perceive the world
nuestras vivencias
or
cotidianas,
our life
o vemos cosas de otras
experiences,
culturas o de otras personas,
experiences
y eso
from
es lo
other
que
cultures, other
todo el tiempo
people,
nos está como
and that's what it's always just, it's like a cycle
la forma
where
en
we
la que
give
creamos el arte, ¿no?
and how we create the art.
I'm inspired just sitting here listening to you. It's amazing. So just a reminder, friends, you can go ahead and drop a question in the chat, and Oscar will go ahead and answer that. I know we have one here coming up in a second. Can you tell us, before that, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now?
¿Cómo?
¿Nos podrías platicar en qué estás trabajando ahorita? ¿En qué estás trabajando ahorita?
¿En qué estoy trabajando? Bueno, ahorita estamos en un proyecto que
Well,
ya
right now we're in a
tenemos
project
tiempo atrás trabajando.
that we've been working a while back in it. It's some alebrijes that are illuminated with lights, and they are managed as puppets. We have been putting up in the theater, and we're thinking about bringing it somewhere outside of Mexico. We're also working in the fabrication of new pieces of alebrijes that are illuminated with the lights, with a few changes to look for different places to exhibit. So that's what we are working on right now. But those pieces are made out of different materials, but are based on the same concept of the fantastical world.
Wait until you see some of these pieces. The marionettes that light up, they're absolutely spectacular. So we have a question from Luis, who mentions your work is beautiful. We agree. What does the Alebrije mean to you?
Bueno, el alebrije,
Well, the alebrije,
pues para mí representa,
to me, it
digamos, la explicación del
represents
alebrije, ¿no? Que es
the meaning of the fantasy.
un poco la historia de los alebrijes,
I'll tell you a little bit of the history about the alebrijes.
que fueron creados por un
They were
artesano
created by an artisan
se llama Pedro Linares,
named Pedro Linares.
de un barrio
He
de la
was
Ciudad de México, se llama el barrio de la
originally
Merced,
from the Merced barrio in Mexico City, who created these pieces from a dream he had. He had these fantastical creatures in his dream, and he started to build those on this technique of the cartonería.
El elemento de la fantasía,
So what these represent is the element of the fantastical mythology
plasmado en estas piezas, ¿no? Que
and
todas
your
las
idea
culturas
and imagination
tienen
just created
dentro de la
and
mitología,
represented
dentro de
on
la
these type of
historia,
figures.
está ese elemento fantástico, ¿no?
So there's always that fantastic element.
Una parte de
So
la
the
fantasía
Alebrije
de la
represents
cultura mexicana, ¿no?
that
Alimentada por
part of the Mexican culture,
el elemento de la fantasía general que tiene el ser
and
humano,
just
¿no?
as
De
the
que estamos
general
creando
fantasy the human
cosas
being has,
fantásticas.
that we are creating fantastical things.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Another question. Can you explain who Xólotl is? From Yvonne. Thank you. Thank you, Yvonne.
Bueno, Xólotl,
Well, Xólotl,
el Xólotl, como mencionaba
as I mentioned
hace unos momentos,
a few moments before, Xólotl was a pre-Hispanic god who was the twin brother of Quetzalcoatl, and it's a mythology legend that it's based on this. For example, there's the mythology about the origin of the world. So Xólotl is a little related to this type of idea. So Xólotl was selected or has been known as a god that was able to change shapes into different animals. So it's a very complex mythology that's arranged with the Aztec pre-Hispanic history, and that's basically the idea behind the Xólotl.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Have you worked in other mediums besides paper mache?
¿Has trabajado otras técnicas aparte del papel maché?
Ajá. Sí, bueno, es que hay dos, el papel maché.
The
Es
papel
una
maché,
técnica
it's a paper mache. It's a technique that it's called the paper mache because it's like shredded paper in a way. So in Mexico, they gave this technique the name of cartonería. Some of my colleagues use this technique to make textures or different applications within the pieces. So there's not really like a limit of saying this is up to here or this is how much can be done with a paper mache. So I just base my work off just trying to respect that material. These pieces that I'm showing right here, I basically use just a paper mache. But with pieces this big, like the Xólotl, based on the size, we have to use different materials, like wood. Usually we use reed to make these type of sculptures this big. So reed is kind of like a bamboo, similar to bamboo. So that's how you make it. That's how you made the Judas, which is a saint in Mexico. So that's how it can also be made. But for transportation purposes, we made this out of just treated wood so it could last longer.
Thank you. Another a comment here. It is pride that a craft from Mexico City has reached other places and can be shared outside the country. We agree, and we're so thrilled that Anything Right Farms here in Thornton, here in Adams County, gets to host such an incredible piece. Do you have specific artists that have been an inspiration to you? Could you tell us about some artists, other artists that may have been an inspiration?
Artist?
Other artists who might have been an
Otro
inspiration.
artista que me...
¿Qué te ha inspirado?
Pues, bueno, sí, evidentemente, pues el arte de Pedro Linares.
Well, the art of Pedro Linares has definitely had an impact. The Judas, these figures that are saints that inspired me. That type of work with those materials, so organic, like this type of work, like paper, wrap it around the structure, and you just get inspired by other artists. I like to buy books of popular art from other parts of the world, and you just grasp ideas from different places of the world. I don't have a favorite artist, but I don't know, I like a lot of the Alexander Calder work, his shapes, the movements, and the colors that he uses. Like we can see in Instagram art from different artists, and all that is feed us and nurture us as an artist and as a person that appreciates others' people's work.
So, from Evina, what is the role of Alebrijes in Dia de los Muertos?
Bueno, el alebrije
Well, the Alebrije
no surge en un principio
doesn't surge, or it's not directly correlated with Dia de Muertos. Dia de Muertos is just a tradition, celebration, an ancient tradition that doesn't have a direct relationship, but they've made those mergers like the movie of Coco, and they've just united those symbols of Mexico and fusioned together to showcase Mexico in a way. And just it's how people are creative and just interweave the ideas of the Alebrije within the Dia de Muertos tradition. It doesn't have a particular meaning to Dia de Muertos. It's a little separate and other type of representation.
Another question. How do you think art can bring us together to heal in time of division? I love this question. Thank you. How do you think art can bring
¿Cómo
us
dice?
together?
No lo entiendo muy bien esa.
¿Cómo crees que el arte puede unirnos y curarnos en estos tiempos de división
¿Cómo el arte puede unir
a la gente?
No, pues pienso que es un elemento
Well,
muy,
I think it's an element that is very valuable that we have as humans. The art
el arte rebasa
Art
el idioma
surpasses the language.
y me ha tocado, he tenido oportunidades de estar como
I've had the opportunity to be in other countries where there's no possible way of verbal communication, but the own technique, the own alebrije, the own art, it's a language. So barriers just break there. It breaks everything, gender, ages. So we're all in the same channel and we're all connected, doing the same thing. So I think it's something very valuable that we have and that it's very important to continue to promote it. So it completely helps to unite people as human beings, as people. It's fabulous.
I agree. I mean, we've experienced that, I think, all week right here, all working together. It's just been such a joy. And so just so people know, the Xólotl Dios Perro is going to be here on display at Anythink Right Farms for until November 14th. And we have a whole slew of programming that'll be happening here over the next several weeks in conjunction with the Mexican Cultural Center of Denver. And we're so thrilled to have this piece here, to be able to bring this to our community in partnership with Adams County Government, the Mexican Cultural Center. Do we have any last questions? Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
¿Hay algo más que quisieras compartir con la audiencia?
¿Cómo?
¿Algo más que quisieras compartir con la audiencia?
Algo más que quisiera comentar. Bueno, pues agradecer a
Well, I would just like to
Centro
thank
Cultural,
the
agradecer
Mexican
a
Cultural
la
Center,
biblioteca y a
the
todas
Wright
las
Farms
personas
Library,
involucradas
and everybody that
en
was
este
involved in
proyecto,
this project,
porque yo sé que no es
because I know
fácil,
it's not easy
traer una pieza
to
de este
bring a
tamaño
piece this
y
big,
tenerlas, el espacio
to
y
have
todo
the
lo que
space
implica, ¿no?
and everything that
Pieza.
it's involved with this project. And I just want to thank everybody for the invitation And I
que les
hope
guste la pieza aquí, va a
everybody
estar hasta el
likes
15 de
it
noviembre.
and come by to see this piece, to take pictures, share the pictures. It's going to be here in exhibition until November 14th. So we hope to work together again in the future with a workshop or something related to the Alebrije, and thank you for the invitation.
We have one more question. Where can I find more of your work? You've grown your fan base here, I think, today. And
¿Dónde pueden encontrar más acerca de tu trabajo?
Bueno, pueden seguir
Well, you can
la página de
follow
Instagram.
my Instagram page. It's Óscar Becerra Mora.
También tengo
In Facebook, it's also Óscar Becerra Mora.
estoy publicando cosas
And I usually just publish things related to my work
referentes a otros
and related to other artists
algunas cosas culturales.
and other cultural things. There are things that I see and they catch my attention, so I just publish those.
Con esta línea,
And anything related to this type of work or art.
eso es, digamos, ahí pueden,
So that's how you can contact me or follow me.
And we'll make sure that Erica, or our team, puts into the comments the link to Oscar's Instagram and Facebook Instagram page. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Huge thanks to Oscar. It's been such a joy to have you here with us this week. What an honor, truly. Thank you to Adams County Government, who really, they came to us with this fantastic opportunity just a few weeks ago. Huge thanks to Erica Hernandez and the team at Mexican Cultural Center. And thank you all for tuning in. Please share, continue to post questions. We'll see if we can get those after the fact. And come on by and visit us at the library and see this spectacular piece in person. Thank you all so much. Have a great day. Thank you.